Most businesses have an asset sitting above their heads that produces absolutely nothing. It covers thousands of square feet. It requires maintenance, and depending on the building, it may have cost a small fortune to construct. But financially, it just sits there. Your roof. Now imagine turning that empty space into something that generates electricity every day, lowers one of your operating expenses, and protects part of your business from future energy price increases. That is the real argument for commercial solar. Before we get into it, though, buying solar the wrong way can be an expensive mistake. That is why I created the Smart Solar Buyer's Blueprint. It shows you how to compare quotes, question projected returns, spot misleading sales claims, and choose the right system without relying entirely on what an installer tells you. You can find it through the link below. Now, let's look at why commercial solar deserves serious consideration and why the strongest reason to buy it has very little to do with saving the planet. Let's begin with the obvious benefit: lower electricity bills. A commercial building can consume an enormous amount of power, lighting, heating, and cooling, machinery, refrigeration, computers, ventilation, pumps, compressed air, vehicle charging. The list continues. And every month, the business receives a bill for keeping all of it running. The frustrating part is that the business has very little control over what electricity will cost in the future. You might negotiate a supply contract. You might reduce consumption. You might replace equipment with more efficient alternatives. But ultimately, if your building needs electricity from the grid, you have to pay whatever that electricity costs. Commercial solar changes part of that equation. When the panels are producing power and the building is using it, the business buys less electricity from the grid. The system is not handing the company a check every morning. It is doing something simpler. It is preventing money from leaving. That difference matters. Suppose a manufacturing business currently spends $150,000 per year on electricity. After installing solar, the business reduces its grid purchases by $45,000 per year. That $45,000 stays inside the company. It can be invested in equipment, staff, marketing, new products, debt reduction, or simply stronger profit margins. And unlike a one-time cost-cutting exercise, the solar system can continue producing electricity year after year. But this is where we need to be careful. Not every dollar shown as a solar saving in a sales proposal is guaranteed. The strongest savings usually come from electricity the business uses directly. This is known as self-consumption. Imagine your solar system produces electricity at noon. At that same moment, your building is running machinery, air conditioning, and refrigeration. The solar power flows into those systems, reducing the amount of grid electricity you need to purchase. That is valuable. Now imagine the same system producing electricity on a Sunday afternoon when the building is almost empty. The business cannot use all that power, so the excess may be exported. You may receive something for that exported electricity, depending on your local market and agreement, but it may be worth significantly less than the electricity you avoided buying. This is why commercial solar tends to work especially well for businesses with strong daytime demand. Factories, warehouses, supermarkets, hotels, schools, office buildings, cold storage facilities, care facilities, distribution centers, agricultural operations, and businesses charging electric vehicles or equipment during the day. The better the solar generation matches the building's electricity usage, the more valuable the system can become. And that brings us to the first reason you should seriously consider buying commercial solar. It turns a recurring expense into a long-term asset. Your normal electricity payment disappears as soon as you make it. You pay the utility company, and the transaction is finished. Next month, you do it again. Solar is different. You spend money on a physical system that continues producing something the business needs. It is similar to the difference between repeatedly renting a piece of equipment and owning one. Ownership requires more money at the beginning. But once the investment has been recovered, the asset can continue creating value. This is why the payback period receives so much attention. The payback period estimates how long the solar savings will take to recover the original project cost. For example, imagine a commercial solar project costs $300,000. After accounting for the value of the electricity generated and the system's operating costs, it saves the business approximately $50,000 per year. A simple calculation suggests a payback period of around 6 years. Some buyers hear 6 years and think that sounds too long. But 6 years is not necessarily the end of the investment. It is the estimated point at which the original $300,000 has been recovered through savings. If the system remains productive for many years after that, the business may continue benefiting long beyond the payback date. That is the part people often miss. The question is not only how quickly do we get our money back, it is also how many years of value could remain after we get it back. Of course, the payback calculation needs to be honest. It should include realistic maintenance, realistic generation, equipment degradation, possible repairs, the actual amount of solar electricity used by the business, and the complete installation cost. A salesperson can make a payback period look shorter by using optimistic assumptions, but that does not make the technology a bad investment. It means you need to test the numbers before you buy. The second major reason to consider commercial solar is protection from uncertainty. Businesses depend on forecasts. They need to know what their costs may look like next year. They need to price contracts, plan staffing, order materials, manage cash flow, and protect profit margins. Energy price volatility makes all of that harder. Suppose your company signs a 3-year agreement to supply a product at a fixed price. Your labor costs are estimated. Your material costs are negotiated. Your expected profit margin looks healthy. Then electricity prices increase sharply. You cannot necessarily increase the price your customer pays, so the additional energy cost comes directly out of your margin. Commercial solar cannot eliminate that risk. The business will probably still rely on the grid. Clouds exist. Nighttime exists. Seasonal changes exist, but every unit of electricity produced and consumed on site is one less unit exposed to the full market price. You are creating a partial hedge against future energy costs, and that can be valuable even when the immediate payback is not spectacular. Sometimes predictability is worth almost as much as the saving itself. The third reason is that solar can make better use of property you already pay for. Commercial buildings often have enormous roofs. Without solar, that space serves an important purpose, but it may not create any direct financial return. It protects the business. It supports equipment. It keeps the building operational, but it does not reduce the company's expenses. A suitable solar installation can turn that roof into productive infrastructure. The business does not necessarily need to purchase more land. It does not need another building. It may not need to sacrifice valuable floor space. The system is installed on an area that was already there. That is one of the most attractive parts of commercial solar. It can create value from space that would otherwise remain financially inactive. But not every roof is ready for solar, and this is where buyers need to slow down. The roof may be too old. It may need repairs. It may not have enough structural capacity. There may be drainage issues, shading, fire access requirements, existing equipment, warranty restrictions, or future construction plans. Solar panels may remain on the building for decades, so installing them on a roof that needs replacing in 5 years could create a very expensive problem. The panels may have to be removed, stored, and reinstalled. The business may lose generation during the work, and the total project cost may rise far beyond what was originally expected. Before buying solar, understand the roof, not just the panels. The fourth reason to consider solar is the direction businesses are moving. Many companies are becoming more dependent on electricity. Delivery fleets are becoming electrified. Heating systems are changing. Warehouses are using more automation. Manufacturing equipment is becoming more advanced. Data usage is increasing, and businesses are installing more charging infrastructure. That could mean electricity becomes a larger operating expense in the future. A solar system designed around today's demand may reduce current costs. A system designed carefully around credible future demand may become even more useful. The important word is credible. A salesperson may justify a larger system by claiming your electricity use will increase. That could be true, but it should be based on real plans. Are you actually purchasing electric vehicles? Are you installing new machinery? Are you extending the building? Are you increasing production? Are you adding refrigeration? If the answer is yes, the future demand should be included in the design, but you should not buy an oversized system based on vague possibilities. Your company might use more electricity one day is not a financial strategy. It is a sales argument. The fifth reason businesses buy solar is sustainability. Now, for some companies, this is the main goal. For others, it is a secondary benefit. But it can still have commercial value. Customers increasingly ask suppliers about their environmental performance. Large organizations may require emissions information from companies in their supply chain. Commercial tenants may prefer buildings with lower operating costs and visible sustainability measures. Investors may examine energy use. Employees may care about the company's environmental commitments. Solar does not automatically make a business sustainable. A building can have panels on the roof and still waste huge amounts of energy. But solar can form part of a wider energy strategy. That might include efficiency improvements, better monitoring, upgraded equipment, insulation, demand management, and changes to operating schedules. The strongest companies do not use solar to cover up waste. They reduce waste first, then generate part of the remaining electricity more intelligently. This can lead to an important question. Should you improve energy efficiency before buying solar? In many cases, yes. Imagine installing a large solar system to power outdated equipment that wastes electricity. You may be paying for extra panels simply to support inefficiency. Replacing old lighting, repairing compressed air leaks, or upgrading poorly performing equipment may reduce your electricity demand first. Then the solar system can be designed around the building's improved consumption. That could mean a smaller project, a lower upfront cost, and a stronger return. This is why the best solar buying process does not start with panels. It starts with data. How much electricity does the business use? When does it use it? What equipment is consuming it? What changes are planned? Where is energy being wasted? What does the roof allow? Only after answering those questions should the system be designed. Now let's address one of the biggest objections, the upfront cost. A commercial solar system can require a significant investment. Depending on the building and system size, that could mean tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of dollars. That is real money. And solar is competing with every other place the business could invest it. New machinery might increase production. A new location might increase revenue. Marketing might attract customers. Paying down debt might reduce risk. So commercial solar should not be judged in isolation. It should be compared with the alternatives. What return could the company generate elsewhere? How risky is each option? How quickly is the capital recovered? How predictable are the benefits? Solar may not produce new sales directly, but it can reduce the cost of producing every sale the business already makes. That can be powerful, particularly for businesses with narrow margins. Suppose a company generates $5 million in annual revenue, but only keeps a 5% net margin. That leaves $250,000 in profit. If solar reduces annual electricity costs by $50,000, that saving is equal to 20% of the company's existing profit. The business would need to generate a large amount of additional revenue to create the same $50,000 in net profit. Cost savings and sales revenue are not the same, but in a low-margin business, reducing a major expense can have an outsized effect on the bottom line. There are also different ways to fund a solar project. Some businesses purchase the system outright. This may provide the greatest long-term financial benefit, but it requires significant capital upfront. Others use financing. That allows the company to spread the cost, but interest and fees must be included when calculating the true return. Some businesses use leases or power purchase agreements. These structures may reduce the upfront investment, but the business may give up part of the long-term financial benefit or enter a lengthy contract. There is no single best financing method for every company. The right option depends on cash reserves, borrowing costs, tax position, building ownership, and long-term plans. But no matter how the system is funded, ask one question. After every payment, fee, and ongoing cost, how much better off is the business? Not how much electricity will the system generate, not how impressive the panels look, not how low the monthly payment appears. How much better off will the company actually be? That is the number worth buying. So, should every business purchase commercial solar? No. And anyone telling you otherwise is trying to sell you something. Solar may be a poor fit if the building has very low daytime electricity demand, if the roof needs major work, if the company expects to relocate, if the lease is too short, if the project relies heavily on exporting electricity at an uncertain rate, if financing costs remove most of the benefit, or if the projected return only works under extremely optimistic assumptions. But for a business with a suitable roof, strong daytime consumption, stable operations, and a realistic financial model, commercial solar can be one of the most dependable cost reduction investments available. The key is to buy the right system. Not the biggest system, not the cheapest system, and not the system with the shortest payback printed on the proposal. The right system is the one designed around the way your business actually operates. Before signing anything, collect at least 12 months of electricity data. Use detailed interval data when possible. Check the roof condition. Understand the complete installed cost. Ask what percentage of the electricity will be consumed on site. Ask what happens to the excess. Question the assumed electricity price increases. Include maintenance and future equipment costs. Compare more than one system size. And recalculate every proposal using the same assumptions. A good installer should be willing to explain all of this. They should show you where the return comes from. They should discuss risks. They should explain why the proposed system size is appropriate. And they should be willing to tell you when solar does not make sense. If someone avoids those questions, creates artificial urgency, or insists that the numbers are too complicated for you to understand, step back. Commercial solar is technical, but the business case should still be explainable in plain language. You are not purchasing a graph. You are purchasing an asset that may remain on your building for decades. Take the time to understand it, because when commercial solar is bought correctly, it can do far more than put panels on a roof. It can reduce overhead, protect profit margins, create more predictable energy costs, make better use of commercial property, support future electrification, and keep more money inside the business. That is why you should consider buying it. Not because a salesperson says electricity prices will explode, not because solar is fashionable, and not because every roof needs to be covered in panels. You should consider it because your business already pays for electricity. It will probably continue paying for electricity. And under the right conditions, producing part of that power yourself may be significantly more valuable than continuing to rent every unit from the grid. The opportunity is real, but so are the mistakes. That is why the smartest solar buyers do not begin by asking, "How quickly can we install it?" They begin by asking, "What would make this the right investment for our business?" Once you can answer that, the panels become the easy part.